Good morning, Morgan, and good morning to any of Morgan's friends that have decided to watch this video too. All right, this is our 7th Python training video, and we're starting to get into the fun stuff, okay? And that's taking these data sets that we're creating and actually manipulating them, doing things with them, okay? And this is just an introduction to loops. We've already seen the while loops before, and we're going to go see those again today in example 1. And it's very simple. We're going to put some code underneath this the loop statement, and this code will be repeated over and over again as long as the statement here is true. Remember the Boolean? I don't know if we've talked about the Boolean data set yet, but we will. A Boolean data set is either true or it's not true. Okay? And in this case, as long as A is whatever the value of A is less than 10, the code will be executed. And and of course, when this happens, you better have a way of incrementing or adding numbers or values to this A, or the loop will just go on forever and ever, and you don't want to do that. So these things are a little dangerous, but we'll talk about that later. The bottom line is what we're doing here is we're taking A and we're printing A, and then we're adding whatever is in B to A. Okay, and of course it starts off as 0, and then we keep adding 1 to it. So the 0 will go into A in the beginning, and then 1 will go into the B in the initialization, and then here we're adding whatever B is to A. So every time it goes through, you'll see something. And the output should look something like this, okay? But we're going to save that for later. This is the first example. Here is an example. It's not having to do with the loops, but it is the first time where the manual is showing us that we can put in a value, a string value, and then also have a number associated with that, or print the value of a data set there. And you've kind of seen this with my print statements that I've incorporated to help us see what's going on with the code when we look at the output. So you've seen that before. Here's another while statement that gets a little crazier. See how big this number can get, how quickly it can get. Okay. All right. Anyway, with that, we're going to move on, and we're going to go ahead and look at the documentation on this part. All right. Now let's get this reading out of the way and get back to the code.
Of course, we can use Python for more complicated tasks than adding 2 and 2 together. For instance, we can write an initial subsequence of the Fibonacci series as follows. Fibonacci.
All right. So it talks about this loop that we're going to talk about in the code, and it refers to it as the Fibonacci series. This is a very interesting mathematical concept, and it has unbelievable applications in nature, none of which we're going to be discussing here. All right, but yeah. So bottom line, what the Fibonacci series does is it goes and adds 2 numbers together, and well, it's how we let's see, how can I explain this? Okay, so it starts off, you know what, I'm going to wait until I run the code and then it'll be easier to explain. We'll talk about this more later on. Anyway, let's get back to this part. Oh, this looks like a lot of reading here. Let's just knock this out.
This example introduces several new features.
Excuse me.
The first line contains a multiple assignment. The variables a and b simultaneously get the new values 0 and 1. On the last line, this is used again, demonstrating that the expressions on the right-hand side are all evaluated first before any of the assignments take place. The right-hand side expressions are evaluated from the left to the right. The while loop executes as long as the condition, here, a less than 10, remains true. In Python, like in C, any non-zero integer value is true, 0 is false. The condition may also be a string or list value. In fact, any sequence, anything with a non-zero length is true, empty sequences are false. The test used in the example is a simple comparison. The standard comparison operators are written the same as in C: less than, greater than, equals, equal to, equals, less than or equal to, equals, greater than or equal to, and equals, not equal to. The body of the loop is indented. Indentation is Python's way of grouping statements. At the interactive prompt, you have to type a tab or spaces for each indented line. In practice, you will prepare more complicated input for Python with a text editor. All decent text editors have an auto-indent facility. When a compound statement is entered interactively, it must be followed by a blank line to indicate completion, since the parser cannot guess when you have typed the last line. Note that each line within a basic block must be indented by the same amount. The print function writes the value of the arguments it is given. It differs from just writing the expression you want to write, as we did earlier in the calculator examples, in the way it handles multiple arguments, floating point quantities, and strings. Strings are printed without quotes, and a space is inserted between items, so you can format things nicely, like this.
All right, that's the second example. And let's go ahead and finish off the reading.
The keyword argument end can be used to avoid the new line after the output, or end the output with a different string. A, B equals 0.
All right. Well, that's it for the reading. Let's go back to the code and have some fun. And we're back to the code. Now, in the short time that it took us to go read that the manual, I went ahead and made some changes to this while statement. And I'm going to go ahead and run the code, and then we'll go talk about the output, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay? All right, let's go. And it's running, and it's running, and we have output. All right. Okay, well then let's go take a look at what we have created. Oopsie, wrong button. All right, let's go through this this output, and then we're done with this video for the day, Princess. Okay? All right. So here we go. All right, we go through, and what's the value of A before it makes this calculation? 0. Okay, which is what was displayed. Okay, and then there's the 1. Now, remember what the documentation says. When you're assigning values like this, it goes from the right to the left. So it takes A plus B and assigns it to A. So what's A plus B? It's 1. Okay, so now that has a 1 in it. All right. I'm sorry. Is that how it? Okay, it takes A and B and puts it into B. I'm sorry. And then it takes B and puts it into A. So this 1 goes over here, and the value of these two together becomes B. Okay? All right. And then here's what it comes back. All right? That's what we thought. Then it loops through one more time. Now it prints a 1 because the value of A is 1. Now we do that thing again. This time now B is 2. Okay, because 1 plus 1 is 2. So now 2 goes over here, but before that happens, that B is sent to A. Okay, so now A is 1, B is 2. All right, boom, keeps going. Keeps going. You see how it works? You see 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, something with the computer didn't like something about this and inserted an error message here. And I don't know what this is. So we're just going to pretend like that didn't happen. Okay, and it continues going through. And oh, look, surprise, surprise. Now that A is 13, it's greater than 10. We don't get any more. There's what the output should be. All right. Now, let's go to the second example. You kind of saw this when, over in here when we were doing it in my display statements earlier. But that's how you add, example 2 is how you add, make the output a little more readable. And here, it shows the comment. Now, back in example 1, if I hadn't filled it up with all that extra printing, the output would have been, each number would have its own line. But by putting that comma in, we put it all on one single line. So we stretch out the output so it doesn't look so frickin' ridiculous. And with that, my dear equestrian daughter, that's it for this video. And I'll see you in the next one. All right, love you. Bye.